Alrighty, folks. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is always a bittersweet moment. Nueces Nights are one of the staple events that we have here. And on Friday nights, we get the community together, we share a meal, we talk about an important topic. But today is extra bittersweet because Ustādha Reem has been a part of our community. It seems like forever. It seems like we've known her forever, and she's always been so gracious with her time, her being a role model for not just the sisters, but for everybody. And for every class that you've held here, every reminder you've given, may Allah reward you immensely. I know that you have a lot of education and credentials and experience under your belt. And you've been a student in many places, in Qatar and Harvard Divinity School, UT Austin, but we hope that UT will always have a special place in your heart. But in particular, we hope that this will always have a special place in your heart. I can speak for the community that you mean a lot to us, and the thought that you and your husband will be moving away very shortly is a huge loss for the community. And people have been asking, what is your favorite memory of Ustādha Reem? And when they ask me that question, I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know if I have a single favorite one, but one that's very near and dear to my heart is the moment where Ustādha Reem introduced me to her husband Ali. It was a bromance at first sight. Maybe one way, like I love him. I don't know how much he cares about me, but he's a brilliant young man, and I just was so gravitated towards his energy. I believe y'all call it aura. I don't know. But as they say, behind every successful woman is an amazing husband. Is that not what they say? Is that not the case? I feel like I've divided the room on this issue. But no, in all seriousness, it's been a blessing, honor, and privilege to have you as part of the Nueces family and as part of the UT community. We're going to miss you dearly. May Allah accept all of your efforts, especially including tonight's Nueces Night. And for the last time, we'd like to welcome once again Ustādha and soon to be Doctor, inshallah, Reem Sheikh. فليتفضلي مشكورة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. On the way here, my mom's visiting from town. She's right there. So she's come here to witness this last event. And on the way here, she was like, I've heard a lot of people say nobody ever forgets or gets detached from Nueces. And I'm like, that, I can't, if I feel this way just, coming here and there to speak to you guys, I can't imagine how attached you guys feel to this place. And I've been here 3 years, so almost like, the full-time a student would be here. And I feel like the closer I get to the day that I'm leaving, the more it hits that I won't be a regular part of this community anymore. And I don't think there will ever be a community that I'll be a part of that'll feel like this, that'll feel this homely, that'll feel this comfortable, that'll feel so welcoming that I can just, walk in any time and feel like, I'm a part of this community, I'm a part of this home, this is family, and that's what this place feels like. So I am very, very sad to be leaving. I mean, I'm excited for new chapters and, new communities and new adventures, but it is very sad I don't leave here with a happy heart. I'm sad to leave. I'm sad to not be doing, having these monthly, weekly events anymore, and not to pass by a Nueces at random times and feel like, oh, I can just stop by here if I need to relax for a little bit or pray or sit down or meet some friends. So, Jazakumullah khair, I want to say for welcoming me, for making me feel like a part of this family, for always, making me feel at home in this community. May Allah reward you guys. Bless you guys. I'm excited to see what this place becomes in the next few years. I'll be back. My sister Jenna is just a freshman, so I'll come back constantly to visit her. I still have exams and I still have meetings with professors for another 3 more years, so I'll be back inshallah. So this is not goodbye, it's just a little bit of a pause. So again, Jazakumullah khair. I thought I would make this last talk a little more holistic in our approach. I've talked to you guys about a lot of things. I've talked to you guys about good manners, about tazkiyah, about marriage and friendships. I've talked to you guys about the stories of prophets and the stories of sahaba. There's so many different things we've talked about. So I thought this would be the culmination of all those different topics to ask, why are we here? What is our purpose in this life? Why are we Muslims? Why are we alive? What are we doing over here? And you'll note that in a lot of my talks, I always allude to how important it is for us to be intentional in our actions, to be intentional as Muslims, to be successful in both this life and the next. So I thought I would elaborate on all those thoughts today, and I hope to leave you guys inspired and thinking about the questions and the things that we raise up today, to where you remember the points that we make in the rest of your lives and the rest of your actions. So we always ask ourselves, why are we here and what is our purpose? And before we answer that question, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing of being Muslim. Right? Because the idea of Islam, the fact that we are Muslim and the fact that majority of us in this room were given that blessing without even asking or without even trying. The majority of us who were born Muslim did not even have to search for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and search for this deen. It was given to us, and this is the biggest blessing that we have. And the fact that through this blessing and through what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us in this belief, we know what our purpose in this life is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّةِ. Before I go ahead. He gave me the look, and I knew.
You remember the one time I told you to move a car and it was your car?
Yeah,
I said we need to move. That was so funny.
That's a fun memory.
Okay, it's 3 cars. Again, you remember that big Tesla I was telling you guys about? If you drive a Tesla in the back, just go to the back. Okay, I'm serious. And then there's a Volkswagen. It's like a big Volkswagen. And then a Toyota Camry with, not you, Ryan. No, that's not your Tesla. That's not your Tesla. It's a black Tesla. It's a black Tesla in the back. The Volkswagen, I know, it's the big Tesla. The Volkswagen and then Toyota Camry with a, it has a car wash sticker on it, okay? It's very specific. Please move your car.
Did you ask the coffee guy? Maybe it's a coffee guy? You asked, okay. Right. Back to where I was. What is our purpose in this life? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And what does this mean? This is Allah explicitly telling us why He created us in this world. Explicitly telling us that I did not create humans and jinn, because the jinns have the same obligations in terms of worshiping Allah as we do, that Allah did not create us except for one purpose, and that is to worship Allah. And that is an explicit commandment that we've been given in the Quran. And to basically to counteract this, Allah says that there are some people in their lives, the way that they act are like animals or even worse. He says, إِنْهُمْ إِلَّا كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. That there are people who have been given the blessing of knowing why they're in this world, and they still choose to not complete their purpose and to not worship Allah. And why does He say that they're worse than animals? Is because animals don't have the intellect that we've been given. Allah said, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, that the reason that we are above all other creations, why are we better than ants, and why are we better than dogs, and why are we better than horses, and why are we better than all these animals, is because we've been given this ability to think, and to reflect, and to ponder, and to learn from all the signs around us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator, and He's the one who deserves to be worshipped. So those who turn away from worshipping Allah are like animals, and even worse than animals, because they've been given the intellect to do it, and they still choose not to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we have been given the blessing of Islam, this is meant to make our life not more difficult, but our life more noble. That we have purpose in the things that we do, that we don't do things mindlessly, that we're not living lives of hedonism where we're just focused on the pleasure, and we're focused on how to have fun, and we're focused on just making money and entertainment and climbing up the ladder of wealth. We have a reason, we have a goal in our lives that we are hoping to be somewhere in closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next life, and that's why we work hard in this life. Can you give me tissue, please? So, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He created us for this noble purpose, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is telling us one word, which is to worship. And this is where the question comes in. What does it mean to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now when I say worship Allah, what's the first action that comes to your mind? You can just say it out. Prayer, right? A very ritual act, something that we do 5 times a day, the time in our day where we turn away from all our distractions, where we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we connect with Him on our spiritual level. This is our spiritual food every single day that we feed to our souls. But is that the only thing that's worship? No. We also fast. We give, a percentage of our savings for zakah. We are kind to other people. We respect our elders, our parents. We try to not be dishonest, not to cheat, not to backbite, not to lie. But is that the only thing that counts as worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now when you are right now in your, coming up to your finals week, and you're sitting there in the library in the PCL until like 1 a.m. studying, are you thinking of that in that moment, that this is me worshiping Allah? Yes or no? Is that the stereotypical thought that you're thinking that, oh, this is me worshiping Allah right now? Or some of you may have, part-time jobs or full-time jobs. When you wake up every day and go to your office and you're working on the computer, are you thinking in that moment, this is me worshiping Allah? It is very difficult, or the way we've been kind of formed to think about worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are only thinking of the ritual acts of worship, the ibadah that we do between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as worship, and we're not thinking of every action in our daily life, from waking up and everything we do during that day until we fall asleep. Every single action during that day has the capability and the potential to be an act of worship. And we just have to work on our mindsets, work on our intentions, learn what it means to actually worship Allah, what it is actually that our purpose is in this life, and the whole perspective of our life shifts from just thinking that this is my worship and this is my secular non-religious life, where they all become one and your entire life is just dedicated to pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter if it's a stereotypical ritual act or if it's the act that you do in your work and your school. So we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that our purpose is to worship Allah. Now we also know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, right? When He created Adam alayhi salam, and He was telling the angels that I am going to make a human being, basically, before He created Adam. He said, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Now He didn't say I'm making a human. He didn't say I'm making some sort of creature. He specifically used the word khalifa. And I want you to think of the word khalifa. We typically think of it as a caliph, like a leader. But in this context, I want you to think of khalifa as an agent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, as a caretaker to the world that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in order to please Allah and in order to be closer to Him on the Day of Judgment. So when we are agents of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, we change our perspective from thinking that we only serve Allah through private worship into thinking that we serve Allah through all of our actions, no matter whether it's in private or in public. When we serve humanity through the skills that we were born with, or the skills that we learned over our lives, through the skills that we learned during 4 years in college, and the skills we learned through our work, we realize that all these skills are ways that we are serving as agents of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. When you become excellent at what you do, we're putting aside right now the ritual acts. We're not talking about being excellent in prayer. We're not talking about being excellent in fasting and in dhikr and in the Quran. Those we all know. Those we know we need to be good at. We're thinking about the things that we don't typically think of as worship. When you become excellent in those things, and you change your intention that I am excelling in this thing because I want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I want to make my ummah and make my Muslim community stronger, because I want to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm dedicating to serving my community and serving my family and serving my entire Muslim ummah in this world, so that I can be closer to Him in the next world. That's when the entire perspective of your life changes. That's when you're not just living because you're scared of punishment and you want reward, but you're living a holistic lifestyle where your private one-on-one time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your ritual act, and the rest of everything that you do is also an act of ibadah, because you're benefiting yourself and the community around you. So we understand from this, what is important? Success in the akhirah, but also success in this world. We work for both success in both worlds, but obviously one is the means to the other. Now if I ask you, what's more important, success in this world or success in the next world? next world, right? Obviously, we know that. What is 80, 90 years in comparison to eternity? It's nothing. But there's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't just give us one test or like one basically exam question or one exam to figure out whether we go to Jannah or not. There's a reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this world so intricate, so complex, the way our communities work, in order for us to achieve His pleasure. There's a reason why there's these communities and there's so many things that we have, so many examples we have from the Prophet, so many examples we have from the Sahaba of ways of achieving success. You can achieve success by praying 5 times a day, praying all your sunnahs, spending your entire nights waking up at qiyam, fasting every single day, or fasting however all the sunnah fasts, and you can also achieve that success through serving your community. Now, which one is better than the other? When there were people who wanted to dedicate their entire time to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they were neglecting their families, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them to tend to their families. So we know that the Muslim who goes and interacts with his community and works on making them better and is patient even when his community is difficult is better than someone who decides to choose his life in isolation. I've said this many times. You cannot be an individual Muslim who lives in isolation, who lives a monk lifestyle, and be a good Muslim. Islam is a very social religion. Now, part of that social religion is helping your community and helping your society and helping your ummah in order to strengthen the izzah, which is the honor of your religion and the honor of your community, in order to achieve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. So obviously we know the akhirah is more important. Allah tells us in the Quran multiple times, وَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا حَيَاتُنَا الدُّنْيا اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب وله. That know that this world is just play and waste of time, right? وزينة وتفاخر وتكاثر, and it's basically showing off and trying to get more and more and being proud of the things that you have in this world. That's all this world is basically basically good for. And the people who have this mindset of you only live once, so you need to have as much fun as you can in this life. It's very interesting that there's a very explicit parallel to this in the Quran. It's just in different wording. وَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا حَيَاتُنَا الدُّنْيَا نَمُوتُ وَنَحْيَا. That the mushrikeen used to say that this is just our life. We're basically alive in this lifetime, and then we'll die, and that's it. That's the exact same meaning as those people that say you only live once. It's like وَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا حَيَاتُنَا الدُّنْيا نَمُوتُ وَنَحْيَا. That we're just going to live in this world and then die, and then there's no purpose. We already know here, everyone in this room is someone who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knows that we have a higher purpose. But we know that when you aim for the akhirah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us good in both worlds. Now, if this world was not meant for us, why would Allah promise us good in this world? Right? If it was not meant for us to be successful in this world, or for some of us, success is not guaranteed to every single Muslim, but success is still a reward that Allah gives in not only in the akhirah, but also in this life. Success in the akhirah, in Yawm al-Qiyamah, and Jannah, and the reward of Jannah is guaranteed to every single person who does what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them to do. An extra reward on top of that for some people in this world is also success in this dunya. Allah says, من كان يريد العاجلة عجلنا له فيها من نشاء لمن نريد ثم جعلنا له جهنم. That whoever wants this world, this fast-paced world, they will have this world and then they have punishment in the next life. And we see that with some people around us, right? The people who, there are some people who don't have any religion, don't worship Allah, don't have any purpose in this life, and you still see them being very successful because Allah has given them this world and He has not given them the next world. But Allah says, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةَ وَسَعَى لَهَا سَعْيَهَا وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ سَعْيُهُمْ مَشْكُورًا كُلًّا نُمِدُّ هَؤُلَاءِ وَهَؤُلَاءِ مِنْ عَطَاءِ رَبِّكَ. That whoever wants the day of judgment and works hard for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward him in the day of judgment, then Allah will give him a little bit of this and also that, which is a little bit of this world, that he may see also some of his reward in this world, and then he will get his ultimate, the big reward in the akhirah. So Allah is saying some people will be given a sneak peek of their reward in this world. But you don't just sit there, you have to work for that reward. So what does it mean for us to have good in this world? Allah says in the Quran, وَابْتَغِي فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. That strive hard for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised you in the akhirah, but don't forget your share in this world. Don't just sit there thinking that if I just meet my very basic obligations, then I will reach Jannatul Firdaus and I'll be very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sure, if you do bare minimum, you can achieve maybe minimal reward or mid-tier reward, but we are all aiming for Jannatul Firdaus. We're all aiming to be the closest to Allah, to be in the highest levels of Jannah, to be with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the other prophets. So we work hard for that in this world beyond just our 5 daily prayers, beyond just fasting and zakah and reading Quran, beyond that. We work to be beneficial to our families and to the community around us. That this world is for us to prepare for the next world. And when we strive for success in this world, what we really need to do is sit down and ask ourselves, what is my intention? And that's basically the answer to everything that we discuss about having success in the akhirah through this world is dependent on intention. Is your intention to be rich because for the sake of being rich? Okay, and then what? You achieve that money, you become a high part of society, you have a lot of wealth in your hands, and then what? If your intention is just to be rich for the sake of rich, where is the meaning in that? Where are you achieving anything beyond than just self-pleasure in that money? Is your intention to be rich so that you can help your community? Okay, there we go. There's a step forward. Is my intention that I want to make money because I think the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put me in this world is to help my community through my wealth, and that's what I think my strength is making money and being good at my career? Good for you. That's a good intention. That's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward, is people who have that wealth and do good with that wealth. Is your intention in this world, is your purpose in this world to help other people with your body? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you strength and a healthy body and the ability to work long, hard hours to help other people. What are you doing with that blessing that Allah has given you? Are you volunteering and helping other people and going to the food bank and creating resources to help the homeless people in your city? Are you creating events to help new Muslims in your community? What are you doing with this health that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you? What is your intention? Are you doing this because it's a great place to socialize and hang out? Or are you doing this because you want to achieve Allah's pleasure and help your community? If it's a little bit of both, that's okay. But what is the intention in this action that in a manner that's going to benefit you and help you in your next life? Are you making money to take care of your family? That's also a good intention. It's something that's been approved and encouraged by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, where he said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعِي وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. That every single one of you is a shepherd, and every single one of you is responsible for your families. And this doesn't go just to the men who are the primary breadwinners of families, but also for women who take care of their families in different manners, right? We all have responsibilities to our families, to our parents, and to our spouses, and to our children, and whoever is in our circles. We have responsibility to our friends, to our community, to our masjid, to the ummah as a whole. You start off in your small circles, and then you work your way to the bigger and bigger and bigger circles. If you're out there protesting for Palestine, but you can't help you're one of your sick parents at home with some of their housework, why are you going there when your primary purpose is at home? When someone asked the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that they want to go to jihad, the first thing he asked him was, do you have parents? And when he said, yes, you have parents, he said, take care of your parents. Right? So you start in your smaller circles, first with yourself, with your ritual ibadah, and the things that you do to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then with your families, then with your communities and your friends and your masjid, and then you work off from there. So think about your intention. Why am I doing what I am doing right now? And how do I shift this into making it benefit me in the next life as well? Now there's a very important hadith over here that I think gives us multiple aspects that helps us understand this concept more. Have you guys heard that hadith that the strong Muslim is better than the weak Muslim? المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير احرص على ما ينفعك واستعن بالله ولا تعجز وإن أصابك شيء فلا تقل لو أني فعلت كان كذا وكذا ولكن قل قدر الله وما شاء فعل وإن لو تفتح عمل الشيطان. Right? That a strong believer, and we're going to dissect this hadith sentence by sentence, a strong believer is better and more lovable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a weak believer. And there is good in everyone. Cherish what gives you benefit, take care of what gives you benefit, seek help from Allah, and do not be lazy. And if any sort of trouble comes to you, say, قَدَرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلْ. That basically, this is what Allah has ordained. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam over here that we need to seek strength. And the immediate thought that comes to our head over here is usually when we talk about strength, we're talking about physical strength. But I want you to think of this in every aspect. I want you to think of it in terms of the strength of your body, the strength of your iman, the strength of your resilience when problems come up, the strength of your spirituality, how strong is your spirituality in the face of doubts, the strength of your emotions, how are you able to basically control your emotions when you act with other people, the strength of your wealth and basically your possessions when it comes to using it to take care of other people. All of these strengths are encouraged in this hadith, and our faith empowers us to be strong in these aspects. As an individual, first of all, right? Because, for example, the Prophet ﷺ says that the giving hand is better than the receiving hand. Right? A person who is giving charity is better than the person receiving charity. In terms of a community also, وَأَعِدُّ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِّبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ. That this is an ayah in the Quran, that always be prepared with strength, so that your enemies, the enemies of the Muslims and the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear the Muslims. So we're being told over here, be strong as an individual and be strong as a community, so that when someone comes and tries to penetrate your community, they can't. Because you guys are strong as people, and you guys are strong as circles, and as communities, and as a masjid, and as an ummah overall. Right? So we are encouraged to be strong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are more beloved to Allah. Allah loves us more when we are stronger. Allah loves us more when we take care to be strong in all these aspects. If your faith is not strong, then how will you work for your akhirah? Right? How will you ever work on your intention if your iman is not strong? If your emotions are not strong, how will other people rely on you? How can you be there to support and help other people? If you're materially not strong, your wealth is not strong, how can you be the giving hand? You'll be the receiving hand. If you're not working to build your wealth and not working to build your success, you'll be the receiving hand. How are you working to be the giving hand? If you're physically not strong, if you're not taking care of the amana that Allah has given you in your body, you're not eating healthy and you're not exercising and you're not working on building your movement so that you're stronger the longer you live, how are you going to help people who are weaker? How are you going to volunteer? How are you going to, work in your communities to help other people physically? If you're not strong in your influence, and in your, basically in where you are in your community, in your city, how will you influence politics? How will you influence politics to help the people of Palestine? How can you achieve all these things if you're not strong in all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Allah loves strength in all these forms. When you're emotionally strong, Allah loves that. When you're materially strong, when you're physically strong, all these things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that more than someone who is not. Now, what do? You do what benefits you. Did the Prophet say just in the akhirah in this hadith? No, he left it open. Do what benefits you, because we're supposed to do what benefits us in both lives. We're not supposed to, for example, we're up praying all night so that we neglect our sleep and then we're basically become unhealthy because we're neglecting our sleep. That's not something that we've been encouraged to do. So how are you doing what benefits you both in this life and the next? Because one benefit leads to the other benefit. Benefit in this world leads with our intentions to benefits in the akhirah. So you aim for the best in both. وَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. Seek Allah's help. Now, do you rely entirely on yourself? Are you so arrogant to think that if I put the work in, I'll of course succeed? No. Nothing that is not written for you will not be given to you. Your rizq, your success, your strength is all written down already. Right? So how are we putting our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How are we making dua for the things that we embark on before we do it? How do we basically thank Allah and rely on Allah even though we are doing the hard work? And that leads to the next point. Do not be lazy. You tie your camel, right? We all know the saying, tie your camel. You don't just, you're in the ocean drowning and the helicopter comes to save you and you say, no, Allah will save me. That's not how it works. You don't be lazy, which means you have to do the hard work. Strength is not going to come without doing the hard work. You're not going to be successful in your career if you're not working hard and studying for your exams so that you have good grades, so that you get a good job, so that you get the interviews that you're looking for, so that you can basically rise up in whatever field that you're in, so that you can become materially stronger. You're not going to become physically stronger if you're not eating properly and going to the gym every day and exercising, if you're not putting in the hard work. You can't be someone who basically decides that they're going to skip all their classes and slack all year and then make dua, Ya Allah, give me success in my exams. It doesn't work like that. You put in the hard work and you trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to do both in order for our goals to be achieved, both spiritually and materially. But the Prophet also says, if you do all that and something still happens to you, then you trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you say, قَدَرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. That we know that the blessings that we've been given in this life is not equal for everybody. Everyone in this world has an equal opportunity to be in the highest level of Jannah, no matter who you are. No matter if you are a shaheed in Palestine or if you're a student working hard here, you have equal opportunity to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannatul Firdaus. Make that clear. But in this world, we've not been all given equal opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نَحْنُ قَسَمْنَا بَيْنَهُمْ مَعِيشَتَهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. That everybody has what's written for them in this world. Some people are born into very wealthy families and it's easy for them. Some people have to work their way up from zero. Some people are living in unstable and insecure basically countries where they don't have the ability to focus on anything but their safety. Everyone's been given different opportunities, but you look at what you've been given and you work with what you've been given to achieve that success in this world so that you can achieve success in the akhirah also. We all have the same potential, even if we have different paths. Now, it's important to note that specifically with my audience right now, all of you are very young, right? And one of the things that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells us, that on the day of judgment, we will not be able to move until Allah asks us about 5 things. And one of those things is an shababi, in your youth. What did you do in your youth that would benefit you on that day when you're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You will be asked how you use these years. You're just starting your youth right now, by the way. You're not at the end. You're in the beginning of your youth. But you're going to be asked, how did you use your years when you were at your prime strength, your prime intellect, your prime time of your life? How did you use that to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We know one of the people who will be under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne on the day of judgment is someone who spent their youth worshipping Allah and trying to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know most of the Sahaba, they did things when they were so young. They were leading armies when they were 17. Right? Most of their conversions to Islam, so many of them, they were so young when they became close to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. We all have that ability when we are young to be great in our faith, to be great in our success in this world and the next. And we have to take advantage because the years that we have now will never come back to us. And how are we using this time that we have right now in order to achieve success in this life and the next? So our steps that we understand from this is that we work on our intention. Everything that we do, we hone our intention so that the action that we're doing, sitting here right now, yes, you're here to socialize and have dinner, but also you're here to learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you're here to learn about how to become better. Right? Everything that you're doing, your exams that you're coming, think about your exams not just to achieve good grades, but also because, Ya Allah, I want to be successful in my career because I want to serve you through what I am good at, and whatever it is that you're good at, right? You work on your personal ibadah, obviously that's more important. There's no point of doing all this work if you're not praying your 5 prayers at home. If you're trying, of course, that's something else, but if you're someone who thinks that your 5 prayers are not important because you're so successful, it doesn't work like that. You hone your 5 prayers while you hone your success in this world as well. They come together at the same time. Your prayers, your fasting, your ibadah, your dhikr, your reading Quran is important and is the foundation to all this other stuff that you're doing in this world. And then after you've achieved that foundation, you work on service to your community, to your families, and you have goals with your akhirah in mind. So remember through all of this, all these reminders that I'm giving you, it's when we bring it back to purpose, when we bring it back to religion, that being a Muslim and being part of this religion does not mean that you have to live a constrained, difficult life. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah keeps on telling us in the Quran, Allah wants easy for you. Allah wants an easy life for you. وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُم مِنَ الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Or وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُم فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. That Allah has not created for us in our religion difficulties more than we can handle. Every difficulty and every challenge that comes to you is something that you are able to handle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us that. Nothing that will come your way will be a difficulty that you cannot handle. And the ultimate freedom and the ultimate liberation is when we realize that our purpose is worshiping Allah, being a servant to Allah, freeing ourselves from all these other holistic obligations and shackles and distractions, understanding that the real reason why we are here is because we want Allah to be pleased with us, no matter how we achieve that, and your happiness will come when you live the life through Allah's rules and Allah's guidelines, with the purpose of pleasing Allah, and then you get hasana fi dunya wa hasana fil akhirah. You get good both in this life and in the next. And with that, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those people who are successful in this life and the next. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from the people who achieve success in this life for the next life, to make us from the people who are from Jannatul Firdaus, Ya Rab. Ya Allah, make us close to you in Jannah. Build us houses close to you in Jannatul Firdaus, Ya Rab. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Ya Allah, give us good in this life and give us good in the next life and save us from the adhab. وصلى اللهم وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Look at the Q&A right now. Any questions from the audience? Yeah.
You said benefit, you said something about use something to benefit you. So I don't remember like on the back of that you said.
About benefiting us, ourselves, or other people?
You said ourselves.
In terms of, do you remember? I think what I was talking about was, oh yeah. احرص على ما ينفعك. So that means that it's part of the hadith, which means that when you are basically going to do a task, do what's going to give you good in this life and the next. Right? So if you know that working, studying hard for your exam will give you success in your exams and will give you success after that, then study hard for your exams. If you know that sleeping early and waking up early will give you more productivity in your time in order to be a better worshipper to Allah, then you do that. So to basically take care of the things that benefit you as a person, and you as a person know what benefits you. Yeah, I'm looking at the link right now. If you're someone who is on the receiving end, how do you also contribute when you don't have any strength? Now, this is I should have explained this part in the hadith, but the Prophet ﷺ specifically says in this hadith that let me pull it up, that وَفِي كُلِّ خَيْرٍ, that if you are al-mu'min al-qawi or al-mu'min al-da'if, if you are the strong Muslim or the weak Muslim, everybody has good in them. So the Prophet ﷺ is specifically validating those who in that moment of saying that hadith feel like they are on the receiving end. Now if you're on the receiving end and you're thinking about financially, you don't have to be on the receiving end in terms of other actions. If you're on the receiving end financially because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed you in a situation where you have basically material difficulties, that doesn't mean that you can't give back with other things. Right? If charity is giving you, you can give back with your strength. You can give back with your time. You can give back with your intellect by working hard and benefiting your community in the future. So don't think that you don't have any strengths, because everybody has something they can basically work and help other people with. And even if that thing seems insignificant to you, it's not insignificant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even just removing an obstacle from the road is a part of Iman. Right? That even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala values that as something that someone is benefiting the community with, something as small as that. So don't ever think of yourself as the weak Muslim. Always aim to be the strong Muslim. And this hadith is meant to be encouraging to be a strong Muslim and not discouraging if you feel like you are on the receiving end. There's nothing wrong with being on the receiving end, as the Prophet ﷺ said on the hadith, but you work on giving through other means. I don't know the answer to this question. It says, can we retroactively change our intentions of past actions or actions that we have already started to pivot to be for the sake of Allah? Okay, actions that we already started, that's something else. Past actions that are already completed, you can't change an action once it's already been done, but you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you because you wished you had that intention instead. Now, an action that's already started, yes, for sure. If you came to this event, for example, with the purpose of just getting coffee and saying hi to your friends, and now you're changing your intention where you want to benefit yourself in your akhirah as well, you can definitely change your intention. There's only actually one thing that your intention can't be changed for, and that's obligatory actions. So for example, if you're in the middle of praying Fajr and you're like, oh wait, I need to pray Isha from yesterday, then you can't switch your intention mid-action. But if you're in the middle of praying a sunnah prayer and you're like, oh yeah, I need to pray istikhara, then yes, you can switch your intention in the middle to basically add another layer of worship in there. So yes, your intention can be changed in the middle of an action, especially if it's something to change a normal intention into a good one. For those of us doing career paths that don't necessarily give back to the community, like tech or engineering, how do we connect it back to Allah? Why do you think those don't give back to the community? That's the question. Why do you think that your field being something, a non-typical helping field like medicine or something like that, why do you think that's not giving back to the community? In fact, I would say it's very important for you to be in that field. It's very important for you to be in a field that's advancing so fast so that we as Muslims don't fall behind. Why would we want to fall behind? We need more Muslims to be in these spaces that earlier generations were afraid to be in their spaces because they seemed un-Islamic. We need more people to be in those fields because we need more Muslim representation in those fields. Think about the person who has basically the most influence in this country right now. Where is he getting his influence from? From which field? From technology. Right? The person who has the most wealth in this country right now is someone who got their wealth through technology. And because of that wealth, that person has so much influence over politics, has so much influence over what goes on in Palestine. Why do you think that you can't achieve that influence through what you are doing? So yes, even if you're in a field like tech, especially if you're in a field like tech, then you need to repurpose your intention that I'm going to be the best at what I do because I want to build things for Muslims, because I want to be that person building that product that will help people in underdeveloped countries and Muslim countries. If you have that kind of influence and that kind of power in this country, then you can have a lot of influence to help your communities locally and internationally. So don't think that these fields are not connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as your field is not something haram, which means that, I don't know, can you go to college to learn how to make wine? I don't think you can, right? As long as your field is not something haram, then you can connect it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter what it is. Anything you do can be connected back to Allah. It's just a matter of perspective. Thank you for this question. Someone said that they're trying to focus more in school and they feel like they can't be involved with the masjid like that. A matter of perspective again. If you feel like you can benefit your ummah more by focusing more on school, and in the long term, in the bigger picture, you're going to benefit your community more, where maybe in a few years you can give back to Nueces what they gave to you, then yes. Come to the masjid less, come to these events less, if it means that you're going to be using that time to do something better for your ummah and for your community on a bigger picture. Right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling that you as long as you're at least trying to come for some obligatory prayers, you definitely as a man should be coming for Jama'ah. As long as you're meeting your basic requirements in terms of your community in that moment, and your intention is that I'm focusing to be better to help my community in a bigger picture, then there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, it's a good thing that you and your basically community should understand and support you with. If you don't misunderstand me, when I said that you can't slack all year and then make dua that you get an A in exams, doesn't mean you should stop making dua to get an A in exams. What I meant is that you can't have the mindset that Allah will help you if you don't help yourself. That's what I meant. So if you're someone who's been too exhausted to go to class, especially when it's Ramadan and you have like a 9 a.m. and you're slacking in that class, and now you're turning to Allah because you missed so much material, of course turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Study hard and turn to Allah. What I just meant is don't think that you can rely on your dua without doing what's in your hands to do. You can't ask Allah to save your camel when you didn't tie your camel to the tree, right? So do what's in your control to do, and if you slacked, then ask Allah to help you where you did slack, and make dua and then work hard. How can you tell if Allah has given you the dunya or the akhirah? You can't tell if Allah has given you the akhirah until we're in the akhirah. But you can know what to do to get Allah to give you the akhirah. Allah is not a, I've heard a lot of like conversations and ideas about like, I need to make my dua in this specific way so that Allah doesn't give me this or give me that, or I'm not going to make dua for patience because then Allah is going to test me with something or something. Don't think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a technical transactional God, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, if you worship Him and you do A, B, C, D, then Allah will give you Jannah. That's it. Do A, B, C, D. Stay away from the haram that Allah told you to stay away from. Do the obligations that Allah told you to do. Then yes, Allah will give you Jannah. right? It's that simple. Now, how do you know if you've been given the dunya? Everyone knows what our blessings are in this dunya, right? But it's what we do with that blessings. The scholars say that it is harder for a person to be good when they have wealth than it is for them when they're poor, or when they're going through a difficulty. Because when you're going through a difficulty and you don't have resources, all you can do is turn to Allah. But when you have that wealth and when you have that comfort, that's when you're truly being tested, because in that moment, you have the comfort, the luxury to think that you are self-sufficient. Right? So when you have been given these blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you realize that Allah is testing everyone. Whether it's with poverty, whether it's with wealth, whether it's with difficulty, whether it's with success, everybody is being tested in one way or another, and all of our tests are different and unique. Right? So you appreciate the blessings that Allah has given you, you focus on the good things that Allah has given you, and you work on using these blessings to be a better person for your next life. Where do we draw the line between helping ourselves and helping others? We know that Allah has created us as a balanced ummah. Everything is in balance. If you feel like that you're giving so much to people that you're neglecting yourself, then yes, maybe it's time to take a step back and focus on yourself. Now, we all want to be balanced in our approach to where we're not being selfish in our actions and where we're not giving too much. If you feel like volunteering all night at the masjid has basically made you miss your obligatory prayers on time, then yes, your obligatory prayers are more important for you to pray on time. It's all about balance, and there's no black and white answer to this question. It's all about you knowing what you're capable of and balancing that with helping other people and also putting yourself first. It's important for us to put ourselves as the priority, because you cannot give from a jar that's empty. Right? You always have to make sure that your own personal jar is filled so that you can give from that to other people. That was very therapy language. Thank you to my therapist for that. Before I look at these questions, anyone in the audience want to ask something? Yeah.
Obligatory, so obviously I'm not going to miss it, but then I'm not spiritually connected. I just have 100 thoughts running through my head doing it. So I feel like I just did it. I just kind of went up and down and did that instead of actually really connecting with it, because Salah is supposed to be a break from your daily life. But when there's so much going on, you can't really just turn it off.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recognizes that our iman goes up and down. This is in the Quran. We know we have times in our life where we feel extra connected to Allah, where we go to our prayer and we feel like we're super focused and we're enjoying the sweetness of our prayer. And there are times in our life where we'll feel like we're doing it robotically, where we feel like we're rushing it, where we'll feel less connected to Allah. So when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells us, al-mu'min al-qawi, the strong Muslim, that's also strong in your iman. So when you feel like you are slacking in your iman, then it's just the same effort. Just like you work on success in this world, you have to work on success in your iman as well. So it takes purposefully, intentionally working on rebuilding that connection with Allah, and giving yourself the lenience to know that it's okay that I'm struggling. Right? Giving yourself the space to know that it's okay, my iman is a little low right now, but I'm going to work on building it back up. So yes, it's okay to feel that way. Then you try to be like, okay, I'm struggling to focus on my prayers. I'm going to make sure before I go to bed that I really do good on Isha prayer and I really focus. And in that moment when you're really focusing, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to connect you, to make it easier for you to focus. And it's okay during your exam weeks where you're finding it harder to focus. Obviously, that's like a phase in your life where a lot is going on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in our hearts, and He appreciates not just the results of our actions, but also the efforts of our actions. So if you're putting in that effort to make your prayer better, and you're trying to become better, then inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. And don't think, as long as you're doing what you need to do and you're trying to make it better, then that's enough. Yeah.
I have a question. But I can't really put into words. Do you mind if I show you?
Sure.
My question, Ustādha Reem, wasn't actually for you, but it was for the community. What does Ustādha Reem mean to you?
Guys, you guys are making me cry.
Assalamu alaikum, Ustādha Reem. I'm going to be so sad that you won't be here as much. I think this year I've gotten really, really close with you. And one thing that you really taught me is that women can be in positions of leadership and in places of knowledge alongside muftis and sheikhs, and that's one thing that I really admire about you. And one thing that I'm going to miss about you is the funny jokes that you always make, and you always bring such a vibe in any room that you come into.
I first off want to start off by saying that you truly are a light at Nueces, and just as a friend and Jenna's older sister, and truly talking to you was just so comforting, and I could talk to you about anything, and you literally were just always there to listen, and your advice is always mashallah, so wise and eloquent. I'm gonna really miss how approachable and friendly you are. I think you're one of the only scholars that actually allow me to want to actually talk to you and approach you with questions, and I really appreciate that.
What I loved about Reem's talks is that she's so engaging, and whenever I ask a question, she doesn't seem judgmental at all.
I'm also going to miss having a scholar to ask questions to, especially female-related questions.
I'm just going to miss going up to her and asking her every random question I have about Islam.
I'm really going to miss having a female perspective on certain topics in Islam and someone to ask about stuff like that.
I learned a lot from Ustādha Reem's purification series, especially her very last one. It really emphasized being a well-rounded Muslim, and how did the fact that being good Muslim doesn't mean how much Quran you read, but how much akhlaq and adab that you hold yourself to.
My favorite lecture series, and quite honestly my favorite memory, Ustādha Reem's lecture series would be the one during Ramadan about the afterlife. I remember I took a lot of benefits from that lecture specifically. Also, it's also a good reminder to ponder that.
One of the best things I learned from Ustādha Reem was during her series this Ramadan about the afterlife. I was able to just learn more about how to connect with people that have passed away that you were close to, and how to connect with them even when they're not here. And it was something very valuable and very personal to me after experiencing losses this year. So that's something I'm very grateful for, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. One thing I learned from Ustādha Reem was your akhlaq is what will matter the most on Yawm al-Qiyamah.
And I really liked Ustādha Reem's talk at 2024 Deen Intensive on qist and justice. It really helped me be a better Muslim to my friends and family.
One of the last days of Ramadan, I was super tired, and there was this lecture going on. I thugged it out, and I think it was one of the best experiences I've had in Ramadan at Nueces, because she took a lot of time just to kind of answer my question, and I really appreciated that, especially with how late it was and everything.
I think one thing that I really appreciated from Ustādha Reem's lectures is that her advice was always practical. There's always a very easy 1, 2, 3 that we can follow so we can embody the advice that she gives in her talks.
My favorite memory with Ustādha Reem is, so last year, 2024 DI was the first time I got to work with her for Deen Intensive, but that was the first time I had interacted with a female scholar, and so I think it was kind of inspiring to just work with a female scholar and someone who was a student like myself at UT. It's one of the qualities of hers is just being lighthearted and caring towards everyone, and that's something I tried to emulate during my time here. Alhamdulillah, I'm really grateful to have her as a role model for that.
You truly are proof that you can be such an educated and beautiful woman, and truly you're such an inspiration, and you're so admirable.
You're just such a big inspiration for me to see a female scholar who's so young and beautiful, mashallah, and just how you present yourself. You have been such a big role model to me, and I'm so blessed to have met you and learned from you.
My favorite memory would be one time Ustādha Reem was doing a lecture, and I had to move a car, so I interrupted. It turned out to be her car, which is pretty funny, and then she told me to move it for her. But yeah.
My favorite memory with Ustādha Reem are the Islamic Studies reading clubs. I still think about Sherman Jackson's Islamic Secular.
When we walked to Chick-fil-A to get a frosted lemonade.
And I'm gonna miss having dinner with her and
My favorite memory with Reem is post-moving Dusky Tuesday with DJ's Pazookies. My favorite memory with Ustādha Reem is when we were both in Dallas and we got coffee together.
My favorite Ustādha Reem memory is when I was worried about my Arabic progress. So she told me to keep on studying Arabic and don't give up.
And inshallah, I want to be like you when I grow up. So.
Yeah, jazakallah khair for everything you did for us, Ustādha Reem, and we'll miss you.
And I'm gonna miss you so much.
So, we're gonna miss you.
We're gonna miss you so much.
And I'm gonna miss a friend that we all love so much here at Nueces.
Guys, you guys are making me emotional. Wow. Okay, You guys mean a lot to me in my journey. I think. Huh? Oh, okay. I'm a little bit lost for words, obviously, but I just want to say how much you guys mean to me. I know I said this in the beginning, but after saying that, obviously, I want to say it again. And it's just that I think the kind of love and support that I've seen in this community, you guys will always have a very, very special place in my heart. And no matter where I end up, wherever in my life, probably won't be Austin, but wherever it is, you guys can always come to me, tell me you're from this community, tell me, you know, come to me with any questions or anything that you want to talk to me about, and I will always be there for you, inshallah, as I know you guys will always be there for me. I hope to come back many, many times. Inshallah, this community means so much to me. Imam Anwar has always been such a great support. You guys have always been such a great support, and may Allah reward you guys and unite us all again, inshallah, in Jannah al-Firdaus.
Honestly, on behalf of Nueces, thank you for everything you've done, all the way from the office hours to the events to the programming. I think Imam put it best earlier. Kind of have an aura of presence.
Kind of Ali. Yeah.
Especially for like other people, they hold you as role models. And so just being present in the community, it really means a lot.
Thank you so much, Mahsan. I appreciate you always being very accommodating. I've always bothered Mahsan over my text, do this, don't do that, don't do this. You've always been very patient. All of you have been helping, honestly, and been part of the team and volunteering and, you know, come to me with your feedback and your questions and all that stuff. It means so much. You guys have helped me so much in my growth, because this is something, I basically took you guys as like, let's see how this works out in terms of what I want to do for the rest of my life, and you guys made it feel so amazing and so incredible. May Allah reward you all for that. No shortcomings. You guys can always contact me on my email, my Instagram. A lot of you have my number too. Always text me whatever you guys need, and I'm here. Oh, yeah.
Wait, so I was just gonna say, like, on behalf of like MSA and on behalf of like all the sisters, like we've heard so much good feedback for every program that you do, and it's even for me personally, like how I said in the video, like you've been such a role model for me, and like just to see, because it's not very common that even in Houston, like we have so many scholars, but it's not very common to see like a woman like consistently leading these programs, like being in those spaces. So it's really, really inspiring for us, and we really want to be like you, inshallah. So behalf of MSA, Nueces, the sisters, like everyone in the community, like we really, really thank you. And I hope in California you have so much fun and you also impact the community.
I'll be back, inshallah. Thank you, guys. If there are any questions that I missed, you guys can ask.